guys know. So we had the more forgettable stuff like the Dark Tower, which was a big tops for me and was very disappointing. But then we had amazing stuff like Mr. Mercedes, and then we had more disappointments like The Mist, which is actually about to debut on Netflix, and I am going to reread the novella and then reread and check out, rewatch the film, which Mr. Frank Darabont did, and then kind of compare and contrast that with the series. And so, yeah, that should be an interesting forthcoming video for you guys here on Hail to Stephen King. And yeah, man, another thing that you can anticipate on the horizon is a little bit of 30 years of, oh goodness, it is one that people have asked me about constantly. It's Tommyknockers, and that is about to, in November, see its 30th anniversary. And so, yeah, lots of fun stuff. People were asking me, they're like, hey, is it going to be Hail to H.P. Lovecraft now, or Hail to, Joe Hill or whatever? But it's going to be Stephen King, but it's going to be more on the loosely based affiliation side of things. But lo and behold, biggest thing that we have to talk about is the fact that this past Friday, 1922, which is based on a novella from Full Dark No Stars, debuted on Netflix. Thomas Jane is starring in it, and everybody loved him in The Mist, myself included. So, damn, this is, it's not going to be for everybody. Very similar to the fact that Gerald's Game is not going to be for everybody. And those are two different Netflix properties that people were very high on, myself included. I enjoyed both of those, but it's a trudge of sorts, especially in 1922. People were thinking for the longest time that Gerald's Game was unfilmable for the sheer fact that it's just this woman, chained to a bed, and she has so much internalizing going down and so on and so forth. But 1922 is at least a little more easily adaptable. But Thomas Jane plays a character where he owns land with his wife. His wife wants to sell the land. He does not. It's 1922, so we're talking like Depression era, Midwest, Nebraska. Ironically enough, Hemingford Home, which is where Mother Abigail from The Stand lives, and so there's a interesting little Stephen King universe connection of sorts. But long story short, he does not want his wife to sell the land. They're talking about divorce. Their son is jaded and so on. And yeah, it ends up basically, mild spoiler, he kills his wife. Throws her in a well. He has the son help out with this task, and it just basically it creeps on them and it builds on them, and it's more so about all of the aftermath of after they kill this beloved family member, and less about the actual act of it. So it's more so about the consequences, the repercussions, and how you deal with having killed somebody who is very important and ingrained into your life. Because Thomas Jane has the local sheriff showing up. He has the couple different lawyers who were trying to buy this land from his wife, and they want to set up, factories and do all this different stuff. But I have to give such immense credit to Mr. Thomas Jane, because of the fact that the way that he threw his voice in this, I mean, he is like, he stands out even more so than anybody else in the processions. He's got like this drawl going on, which is very deliberate, and maybe some people won't like it as much, but I thought he did a hell of a job with it. The actor that portrayed his son was okay. Didn't like knock it out of the park, but the wife character was one that was really painted to be nasty and bad in the book, and I don't necessarily think that they really just nailed that as properly as they should have. You're supposed to feel contempt for her and feel like she is in fact almost getting what she deserves in the scenario when she gets mowed down and throat slit by Thomas Jane's character, Mr. James. But yeah, all in all, a very, very interesting adaptation, especially one that is capping off, a year of Stephen King, as we talked about. We've seen all these previous adaptations that we talked about, and this is, it's basically like calming off the year. Now, Cecil, do we have anybody actually saying anything interesting? Did they like this movie? Did you guys think it was too slow?
A couple people liked it, but what did you think about the set decoration and the music and stuff like that? Hit on that stuff too.
Well, I thought it was all period appropriate, honestly, at least for me. You know, being 1922 and being a time where automobiles are just coming into fashion and they're a new thing, and you're in a rural area like Nebraska. You know, I felt that what they had and what they did was serviceable enough. I didn't live in that area, obviously, so I have no checks and gauges to do for distinction, but I thought all of it was pretty on par. I loved how this film was shot, especially some of the just viewpoints of the cornfields and just some of the sweeping sets and whatnot, and also all the stuff with the rats, which is a big part of the novella proper. After he kills his wife, he throws her in a well, and the rats start eating her, and she becomes like the queen of the rats, so to speak. And so they looked more like mices, like mice, than actual the huge 2-foot rats that they describe in the book. But nonetheless, they kept so many of the same beats, where the rats are chewing on the nipples of the cows, and they're eating the wife after they throw her down in the well. Yeah, it was actually pretty faithful and pretty good for the most part. So I felt like this was one of the most faithful Stephen King adaptations that I've seen, at least personally. So.
Well, Sandra Wilbrander's here, Sam Powers here, Brady's here. He says, "Hey,
Sam
bro, I love
Powers.
1922." Fusion Games is here. Rubber Soul's here. Says Randall Flagg did it.
Yeah, of course he did. Actually,
Nebula.
Richard Fannin, Mr. Rob. Yeah.
Arcane Nebula says, "Sweet." Sinister Cinema Review says this was possibly the best straight adaptation of King. They changed almost nothing.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, even down to some of the dialogue bits, where he talks about perhaps if God rewards you in heaven, perhaps Satan or the devil rewards you for doing bad things here on earth. And I thought that was pretty interesting. And they kept so much of those beats, and it was good. I mean, straight adaptation, they didn't change or alter very much. And I mean, for me, that's good. Being a Stephen King fan.
How was the acting of the wife, considering she had a short time alive?
Mediocre, but she was just not really. I mean, this is basically Thomas Jane's thing, man, and he carried it so wonderfully. Shoot McKay, also known as Andres, I'm missing your name, sir, but he is a fan and a friend, a fan that's become a friend from Sweden. And so we talk Stephen King stuff all the time. He actually is the one who tweets all of those Swedish book covers with the different titles and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, he is awesome, man. And he was like, dude, this might be one of the best performances from Thomas Jane I've ever seen. Because
Thomas Jane can really do well.
He really has talent, man. And the weird little squint on his eye and the way he's throwing his voice, and I mean, he has the drawl on that slang more so than maybe anybody in the film, and he just did a damn good job. And ironically, I wasn't bought into his performance initially, but the kid, his son, Hank, did a damn good job too. And the fact that they explored the whole love thing with him, and where they become it's almost like bandits of sorts, It's almost like a Tommy and Clyde thing. So after they kill the mother, mild spoiler, guys, hold on. Yeah, mild spoiler. Yeah, so after he just can't deal with it, the son, even though they corroborate and they kind of plan it together, and even though Thomas Jane slices the throat, the son just can't deal with it, and he gets his girlfriend pregnant. They're both 15, they're super young, and she gets sent away, and she's in this girls' school. She's gonna have the kid, and he steals his father's car, goes and rescues her, and then they turn into Bonnie and Clyde craziness, and they go robbing banks and all this other stuff. And yeah, so it's a very multifaceted story. It's much more than you might anticipate just based on the thinness, I suppose, of the premise and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, it's on Netflix, for God's sake. How many of us have Netflix? We all have it, right? I mean, for the most part, this is neck and neck with Gerald's Game for awesomeness. So.
Let's see. Rubber Soul and Sandra are going back and forth talking about a tattoo. Video Cult says nice jack-o'-lanterns. Noise jack-o'-lanterns. I thought the new It was badass.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
I love this. It sounds like Jaime loved it too, says Brady.
Yeah, I did, Brady. It was pretty damn good, man. There's certain times where you want them to just veer away from the source material, and this is one of the ones where they didn't really need to. I mean, it's a very brisk 100 minutes, and it's done, and that's about all that you have. It's a slow burn, though. So,
well, it can't be brisk and a slow burn at the same time.
Well,
so which is it? I mean, is it? So you're saying the 100 minutes doesn't feel like 100 minutes,
at least for me.
but
yeah,
but it is a slower feeling movie.
Yeah, some people may not enjoy the fact that it is.
So if you're into it, it feels fast.
Yes.
If you're not into it, it feels like a trudge.
Yeah, exactly. Since I'd read the novella and I was like, okay, waiting for this beat, waiting for that beat, waiting for this beat. It did not feel very long, but I've seen a lot of people say that it kind of slowly trudges about. So.
Leo McKenna says, I saw the new It. I think the new It was one of the worst movies of the year. Sorry.
Well, you were with Marsha Parker.
It was kids making jokes of everything at that point that I started to think, oh, it's a comedy movie. No, I disagree completely.
Yeah, completely.
They were using the comedy to offset the scares, which is what they do in good horror movies. So sorry, but that's you can be wrong, Leo. It's okay.
You're entitled to your opinion.
Yeah, exactly. As wrong as it is. Sam Power says, hey, Cecil, I know it isn't 1922, but have you read Hack Slash? Yes, I have. I have a lot of it. I will talk about it at some point, but probably not for a good while here because we have so much else to focus on. But back to Fuego with 1922. Was there gore to speak of? Effects to speak of?
I mean, there's only a couple instances, like, especially once you see her down in the well starting to decompose and, like, a rat is, like, crawling out of her mouth and stuff that's eating her. But beyond that, it is much more psychological than anything else. And, I just have to really give King credit, and this is something that I wanted to make mention of for the Full Dark No Stars book in and of itself. It's 4 novellas, and so you've got the one that was made into this particular film that we're watching, and then there were 2 others which were also adapted. One is called A Good Marriage. The other one is called Big Driver, if I'm not mistaken. Big Driver is about a woman being kidnapped and tortured by this serial killer of sorts. But A Good Marriage is about this woman basically realizing that, holy shit, I've been married to a serial killer for like 30 or 40 years. She finds like a special spot in his like little area in the back of the house, and there's like IDs from a girl he kidnapped and tortured and killed and all this craziness. And so the only thing that has not been adapted at this point after 1922 is that 4th and final story about this guy like selling his soul to somebody who seems very like Randall Flagg-esque, right, Rob? And that's one that is just so short. I feel like it would be more so like sort of better for an episode of an anthology series as opposed to a full-on film. But beyond that, Full Dark No Stars, I mean, no disclosure, after this being adapted, the 3 choicest and biggest stories have all done very well, and I'm not surprised, man. I mean,
I'm sorry, it's off topic. Did you do a Dr. Sleep review?
Dr. Sleep review, I did indeed. I touched upon it when I did the unboxing for the special edition of the Shining.
Yeah, I was wondering.
I love Dr. Sleep. Holy fuck, man!
Better than the Shining?
In some ways.
Really? Okay, yeah, I want to talk to you about that.
Yeah, Dr. Sleep was great, man. That's about the True Knot, and they were like the psychic vampires who were sucking the life essences out of kids who had The Shining.
Oh.
Yeah, so good, dude.
Okay.
Yeah, it was brutal, it was gory, it was interesting, and they actually returned to the same area where the Overlook was, and there's nothing there now, and it's like a campgrounds, and that's where the True Knot were hanging out because there was all that nasty.
What happened to the Overlook? Because it blew up?
It did indeed. Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. Well, let's see. Madeline Hernandez says, you're right about the pace in 1922. I was watching with a friend who didn't read the novella, and she was falling asleep and finding it slow. Yeah. To me, it felt like I was reading the story again.
Yeah, it was. It was like
That's
straight. It was like straight page for page.
It's a shame that there's such a discrepancy, though, between a person that has read the novella and the person that hasn't, having such a dramatic reaction difference.
And that's where I'm worried. That's where I think some people are going to be bored.
I would feel like I'd be bored. And based on the trailer, I felt like I would be bored.
I thought of you specifically, you and Marcia specifically. I was like, they're not going to like this, because it's a trudge. If you've enjoyed the novella, you are definitely going to enjoy this because it's like a story where a guy is basically about to kill himself. He sits down in a hotel and he starts writing down a personal confession of killing his wife, and then flashes back.
Oh God, I hate that. I hate that mechanic too.
Yeah.
Oh man.
King is not perfect, obviously.
All right, guys. Well, Fuego, any final thoughts on 1922?
I honestly loved it, but once again, it comes with a disclaimer. It comes with the fact that if you have read it and enjoyed the novella from Full Dark No Stars, you will probably adore it just as much as I did. But I worry that, very similar to Gerald's Game, people who are unfamiliar with the source material will feel like it's just.
Well, no, I liked Gerald's Game, even though I wasn't familiar with the source material.
Okay, well,
I did. I liked it a lot because it was a very well-made movie, but it didn't strike me.
Flanagan.
It didn't strike me as something that was going to be boring because it was like, okay, how's she going to get out of this? Like I thought, Buried with Ryan Reynolds was good. I like those kinds of movies, but that's not what 1922 seemed like. 1922 seemed like a slow fucking murder mystery with a disappointing ghost presence.
Yeah, and that it is. And actually, I have to mention that one of my few just gripes, I guess, would be the fact that the ending was thrown together very shoddily, at least in my opinion, and without divulging what the ending was. The ending to the book was just perfect and, moved and just, stopped when it should have. And yet this one, you see a few recurring characters, and I don't know. It could have been better.
They gave it too much of a conclusion?
Yes, exactly right. Yeah.
Okay.
So there was a few different liberties that they took with this film. So nothing major, but I definitely recommend watching it, if only for the Thomas Jane performance. Holy shit, he kills it. He basically transforms into a 20s, Midwestern guy with the drawl and the accent and, kind of squinting on his eye, and he goes through some deformity changes and whatnot. So Thomas Jane made the movie for me, at least.
Nice.
So yeah, you did a great job.
All right. Well, what can people look forward to for next week's Hail to Stephen King? Any ideas?
Next week's Hail to Stephen King is still what I want to do with Marcia, but since she's not going to be around, maybe I'll end up just looking at the Miss TV series. Originally, I was trying to do Mr. Mercedes, because that is fully realized now. It was goodness, it was chosen for second season.
Well, you still have a shit ton of questions from viewers to answer
I do, and we still have to toss back up the
I think
re-edited version of when.
Yeah, we do need to do that. I think you should start answering a viewer question at the end of every episode.
That was what I was doing for a little while.
Yeah, I think you need to do that again. Don't make the whole episode about it. Just answer it at the end. Yeah. But yeah. All right, guys. So, Fuego, you want to wrap it up? Sorry.
Yeah. No.
This isn't my gig. This is your gig.
No, it's all good. I got to extend a grande gracias to y'all. Just look forward to, in the coming months, the fact that we're going to be going over both the Tommyknockers and Misery, because we are seeing the 30th anniversary of both of those very iconic, film book adaptations and so on and so forth. We're also going to be doing some Mr. Mercedes coverage about the first season and The Mist. So, yeah, we're going to fill out the rest of the year properly. I can extend a grande gracias to Cecil for helping me out with the comments here today. Yay. And also, all of you peeps, I'm Jaime Fuego. You can find me on all social media sectors: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, just at Jaime and Fuego. And so until the Wheel of Ka comes around once more, hasta luego, sin amigos. I hope that it is sooner rather than later. And until next time, right, Cecil?
Stay scared. Oh, you folded. I didn't realize you folded the Infuegotainment kind of.
Yeah.
Cool. Oh, wait. I guess I gotta get up there to stop it. I'm just gonna close the window on my phone. That ought to do it. That ought to do it.
Watch 1920.